Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. May the peace and blessings of Almighty Allah be upon you. And a very good afternoon to everybody. I'm Imaz, a final year undergraduate student from IIU, and I'll be a moderator for today's event. It is truly an honor to welcome you all to the third book review organized by the International Institute for Muslim Unity, IIMU. We are privileged to have with us today Prof. Dr. Tamim Usama, the Director of International Institute for Muslim Unity, esteemed speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Junaid Mughal, distinguished scholars, honorable guests, and students of Dr. Shukri, and my dear audience. On behalf of the organizing committee, I warmly welcome you all to this insightful event to discuss and reflect upon a legendary figure in the Sri Lankan Muslim intellectual history. So with that, the book that we'll be discussing today is Dr. M.A.M. Shukri, Legacy and Academic Contributions. As we know, Dr. Shukri was a towering figure in the intellectual odyssey of Sri Lankan Muslims. He nurtured a profound intellectual discourse on Islamic thought, tasawwuf, Arabic studies, history, and interfaith relations. He was remarkable. He was a remarkable scholar too, and he had a lasting impact onto the society, and he is still impacting the society through his ideas, thoughts, and his writings that's still read, discussed. As Dr. Hussein M.A.M, an acclaimed historian from Sri Lanka, he beautifully put in this in the preface of the book. He says that this commemoration volume on the life of Dr. Shukri will be a significant contribution to the intellectual history of Sri Lankan Muslims. So today we will be discussing and reflecting upon the book. So before I call upon the invited speaker, the reviewer for today's event, I'll give a glimpse of the speaker and please give me some time to introduce our speaker for today's event. Our speaker for today's event is Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Junaid Mughal. He completed his PhD, Doctor of Philosophy and Masters from the International Islamic University, Malaysia, from the Department of Usuluddin and Comparative Religion. Further, he has completed his Bachelor's in Islamic Studies from the International Islamic University, Islamabad, Pakistan. And currently, he is serving as an Assistant Professor in the Kuliah of Islamic Revealed Knowledge and Human Sciences, IRKHS IIUM. Apart from that, he has published numerous articles on Islamic philosophy, Islamic curriculum, the intersection of Islam and Western sciences, and many more papers. And also, he is an active participant in various international academic conferences, participated with papers, engaged in discussions in conferences. So with that, obviously, with that note, I know there's much more to say about our speaker, but due to time constraints, with that note, I'm delighted to invite Prof. Junaid to take on the stage. Prof, you can start the presentation.
Thank you very much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأنبياء والمرسلين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. First of all, I would like to say thanks and Jazakallah, especially to my beloved mentor, respectable Professor Dr. Tamim Usama. He has been my mentor during my PhD studies here. That because of his, he gave me this opportunity to I have been assigned this task to review the book on this remarkable and very famous, renowned scholar, M.A.M. Shukri. So, and also IIMU, especially they are doing this contribution, and they are contributing to the development of Muslim Ummah, especially Muslim communities, minorities, those who are in Muslim minorities, so they are working for them as well. I have tried to share the screen. Hopefully, it is visible. The screen.
It's possible. It is visible.
Okay. So the book is. I will start with the introduction, the brief introduction of the book. It is about a renowned scholar, as our moderator he mentioned earlier, Muhammad Shukri, a renowned scholar, Muslim, Sri Lankan Muslim scholar. The book is about his life and his intellectual contribution. And it is a written and edited version of the seminar presentations on Muhammad Shukri held under the patronage of IIUM. As IMO is the part of IIUM, they are working under IIUM. So the chapters in this book have been penned by the experts, offered detailed insights into different aspects of his life and work. The book, after presentation and in the seminar and after articulation of the papers, writing well written, it has been edited by three scholars, edited by Prof. Dawood Al-Hidabi, Sikamania Siraj Abdullah, and Muhammad Akram. It is one of the significant contribution to the agenda of the International Institute for Muslim Unity, IIMU, an organization devoted to empowering minority Muslim communities globally. So if we look at briefly as a summary, to summarize the book, it contains 7 chapters. It appeared that these chapters are actually, as it mentioned earlier, conference paper or the papers presented in the seminar, and these papers have been penned down, and then these papers has been included in the book as chapters. So there are 7 chapters. First chapter is about Muhammad Shukri's life, from his early years to his rise as a leading academic and community leader. The chapter highlights his commitment to education and promoting Islamic scholarship in Sri Lanka. Second chapter is about his intellectual contribution, his influence on modern Muslim thought in Sri Lanka. It also analyzes how Shukri's work bridged traditional Islamic teachings with contemporary issues. His writings provide a framework for understanding and addressing the philosophical and ethical challenges faced by Muslims today. Third chapter is about Shukri's practical initiative, like promoting education, social activities, social involvement, welfare, and economic development to empower Muslim community in Sri Lanka. Let me remove this. There is a header from Zoom which covering the first few lines.
Dr. Junaid, you can continue.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the fourth
Your
chapter.
slide to next slide, no problem.
Okay. Fourth chapter deals with the development of Islamic thought in Sri Lanka. He was so committed to intellectual precision and respect for the diversity of Islamic thought. And the fifth chapter is about Shukri's contribution to Islamic culture and civilization, where the sixth chapter discusses Shukri's thought on the philosophical challenges of the modern world. His work addresses critical questions related to ethics, epistemology, and the nature of modernity. And the seventh and the last chapter examines Shukri's role in promoting social cohesion and national development. This is a brief, just few points which give us the brief idea of the book. So now if we go in the detail, First of all, if we look at the introduction of Muhammad Shukri, the book starts with his introduction, his life, his childhood, and his early education. Born in 1940 and then raised in learning and educational environment. Actually, he was belonged to business-oriented family, but from his family members, from his parents, they were mainly they gave importance to education. And from the beginning, from his childhood in school, early elementary school, he started develop his interest in reading habit. He developed his reading habit and also in debate. And later on we will see in detail. Should I continue?
I don't know what today. Okay.
Dr. Junaid, you can continue. I think some people have unmuted their
Okay.
microphone. That is the disturbance. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, bro. So if we look at his academic background, at the beginning of his educational journey, the exposure of multicultural, as we know in Sri Lanka, there is a multi-cultural and multi-religious communities, Buddhists, Christians, and Muslims. So in his school, he was exposed to this culture. This culture helped him to shape his inclusive worldview, to address the issues where Muslims exist and with other communities. They are Buddhists and Christians. So from the early childhood, from his school days, he started developing it helped him shape his inclusive worldview to address the issues, how Muslims should interact with non-Muslims. And as a passionate learner and extraordinary student, he demonstrated an early interest in writing. His first work was published in the children's section of a daily newspaper during his teenage. When he was teenager, his first work was published in the daily newspaper. So after completing senior school certificate in 1956, he obtained higher school certificate from Zahra College in Colombo, where he consumed his energies in thorough and extensive readings on Iqbal. He actually benefited from the opportunity, the extensive library he found there. He got this opportunity and he spent a lot of time, most of his time in reading, and he developed reading habit. And later on, we will see that he suggested, especially for youth, especially for Muslim youth in Sri Lanka or out of Sri Lanka, there are some suggestions. One of them, he suggested that our youth generation, next generation, or this existing generation, they should develop meaningful reading habit. They should develop meaningful reading habit. So this is what he went through. He demonstrated his skills as a debater in several languages, as we can see Tamil, Arabic, English, and Sinhalese languages. He was very prominent speaker in multilingual. He was multilingual, and he used to speak. He used to deliver speech or participate in debates in different languages. Completed his degree. This is his undergrad degree, 1965, a specialization in Arabic language, and was appointed as a lecturer in the Department of Arabic and Islamic Civilization at the University of Ceylon. In 1973, higher education from the University of Edinburgh, awarded a Commonwealth Fellowship, completed his PhD on Tasawwuf. Under the supervision of Montgomery Watt, his dissertation was on an influential work, Qutul Qulub, the work on which he did his PhD. The manuscript, Arabic manuscript, Qutul Qulub, we can, as it is translated in Arabic, the sustenance of hearts. This work, manuscript, was written by Abu Talib al-Makki, a Sufi master of 4th century. 1976, returning to Sri Lanka as a senior lecturer and the head of the Department of Arabic and Islamic Civilization at the University of Kelaniya, and later later at the University of Peradeniya. After having glance at his academic background, now we try to look at, and let me make it clear, let me make it clear at the first, at the beginning, that as I mentioned earlier, book contains 7 chapters. So 7, all these chapters have having their particular titles. But what I did, I tried to extract main ideas from these chapters, and what I will do, I will try to elaborate important points under those topics. And instead of going through chapter by chapter, I will try to go through the main themes which have been discussed in this book under these 7 chapters. So now we move to the professional engagement of Dr. Muhammad Shukri. Significant role in the establishment and development of Naim Institute of Islamic Studies, which became a major source of Islamic education in Sri Lanka. Graduates of this institute, they are able to engage, they are able to involve in different countries at international level. So one of the founding members, Muhammad Shukri, he was one of the founding members who played a very important role in the establishment of this institute. And he has been assigned as a director of Naim Institute in 1981. Formation of the Islamic Renaissance movement for the educational development of Muslim in Sri Lanka. He was involved in this because he was very much believed in the social mass movement, social activities that Muslim, those who are educationists, elite educationists, he should involve in social activities. He was also the member of National Institute of Education team. That team was responsible to develop curriculum, to design curriculum, national curriculum. As a member of various national international bodies, he contributed significantly to educational reforms and policies development. In 1972, he was part of a delegation to Pakistan, aiming to engage with academics, academic scholars, and high-level administrators of higher education institutions. In order to develop an integrated institutional model, he made international Islamic scholars like Fazlur Rahman Ansari and Maulana Maududi and other renowned scholars. For him, educated elite should involve in social activities with religious thinking. He has influenced both Muslims and Sri Lankan communities due to his skills, multilingualism, and impartial view on issues. Now, if we look at his work very briefly, so his scholarly work comprises of several books and articles in multiple languages, including the areas Islamic education, culture, history, and philosophy. Around 22 books, which are mentioned more or less, around 22 books have been mentioned in this book. In different chapters, around 22 books have been mentioned in different chapters of the book, which we are discussing now. And the articles or the research papers are more than 100 in national and international journals. The main theme of his writing was Islam and Muslim of Sri Lanka in multi-religious and cultural settings. One of the main objectives of his writings was to introduce Islam to Muslim and non-Muslims readers so that they should be able to think about Islam positively. It was his main objective, one of the main objectives, to present Islam, to introduce Islam to Muslim and non-Muslims alike, and in positive, so that they can think about, first they should think about it positively, and then they try to practice, and they try to get closer to, especially for non-Muslim, to have a positive interaction with Muslims community or with Muslim ethnicities there in Sri Lanka. As we discussed earlier, his PhD work, it was based on the work, his PhD dissertation. So So in addition to his specialization in tasawwuf, he demonstrated his expertise in various other fields like philosophy, theology, history, sociology, Tamil and Arabic literature, ulum al-Quran, ulum al-Hadith, fiqh, and research methodologies. These are the areas we find in his writings, in his books, in his articles. We find his writings covering all these aspects, all these disciplines, or these areas. In the light of his PhD work, he emphasized the significance of tazkiyatun nafs, and the role of Sufi paths in social and educational activities. As fiqh addresses, for him, according to him, as fiqh addresses external guidelines on different Islamic practices like prayer, worship, different worships, tasawwuf deals with inherent qualities in these acts of worship. It is also called inner fiqh or fiqh al-batin. He also highlighted the importance of tasawwuf in the Western culture, as many intellectuals have been reverted to Islam as a result of the spiritual emptiness of modern Western society. They try to find solitude, they try to find solitude, they try to find peace, and they found this peace in Islam. So they reverted to Islam, and in this book, there are several scholars have been mentioned, Martin Lings and many others, who embrace Islam and they become Muslim, and they contributed their part, they played their role in the Muslim community or in the world of Islamic world. So if we look at the idea of one of the main idea we found in this book, it is the integration of knowledge. As we discussed earlier, that his visit to at international level, he paid some visits to international level. So there, the main purpose, one of the core objective was to integrate, to find the methods, or to develop methods, or to find ways to develop an education model which can integrate between traditional sciences and contemporary issues. How can we relate contemporary issues with Islamic sciences and religious sciences, for example, ulum al-Quran, ulum al-Hadith, object, maqasid sharia. So in order to develop a model, integrated model, he tried to visit, and he has been appointed as a part of delegation to different countries. So for him, most of the social problems are external manifestation of the inner spiritual crisis. Thus, he describes that the greatest possession an individual has is a strong consciousness and an awakened mind to play an effective role in the family and the society. And this point, which I have mentioned here, why it is important, because relying on Islamic sources, basic sources, at the same time when you are sticking with Quran and Hadith, Quran also promote. In this writing, we find that he encouraged Muslims, he encouraged Muslim youth and encouraged Muslim society, that Quran also promote the use of intellect. Quran also promote the use of reasoning. So this is the, according to him, this is one of the greatest possession a human has. This is a strong consciousness and awakened mind. Through this, he can understand Quran, being unbiased, impartial study. Through impartial study, he can understand Quran. He can get the proper and the real knowledge from the Quran. If he try to fulfill the other criteria to understand the Quran. We will see. He has mentioned in the coming slides that what are the reasons that still Western scholars or Western thinkers, they are unable to understand the truth of the Quran. What is the reason? So he realized the importance of the integration of knowledge. Here, integration, if relate this point to the first point, integration mean ulum nakhliya and ulum revelation and reason. Revelation and human sciences and Islamic sciences. So in order to understand Islamic sciences, there is a need to use intellect and in the guidance of revelation. The integration of knowledge for him, two fields of study, ulum naqliya and ulum aqliya, are inseparable. He said, human sciences are fragmented knowledge which needs guidance from religious sciences. This can only be understood. The true or the purposive use of human sciences is only possible under the guidance of ulum and naqliya, under the guidance of or the principles described by the religious sciences. This is the point which he tried to elaborate and which is mentioned in this book. Commenting on the concept of integration of knowledge, the writer, as I mentioned, there are some chapters written by different authors, different writers. So there is a discussion under the topic of integration of knowledge. So the writer asserts that it is an intellectual act when he talk about this. This assertion is not about whether it is not about Dr. Mohammed Shukri, but it is about the author of the chapter, which is the part of the book. So it is a point to ponder upon. For example, what I want to highlight here, on page number 18, the writer says the act of integration is actually, it is an intellectual act or effort that unites two theoretically distinct and inherently contradictory fields of knowledge. Why I highlighted this point here, maybe I also want to understand, I would like to understand, because this is a discussion on the book. So especially my mentor, my teacher, Dr. Taimur Sama is here also. He may help me, he may help us to understand this. So here my understanding is that maybe this statement, which I have highlighted in blue color, it may need a clarification or a revision. For example, what I understand, if it was like theoretical distinct may refer to apparently distinct. The point, it says, theoretically distinct. Integration is an act, intellectual act or effort to unite or that unites two theoretically distinct. So rather to say theoretically distinct, if we say apparently distinct, which appear to be distinct, which appear to be different. And on the other side, the author says inherently contradictory when he is trying to elaborate the idea of integration of knowledge. So how if we say the inherently, they cannot be contradictory. Rather, we can say, or can we say that inherently they should be intersecting each other. So if we correct or if we revise it, in my understanding, it would be correct if we say the integration of knowledge is an intellectual act or effort that unites two apparently distinct and inherently intersecting fields of knowledge. In inner self, inherently they are intersecting, they are combined, they are based on true knowledge. But it appeared to be distinct, it appeared to be different. As Naqibullah Taz has mentioned, when a person knowledge is true, it is pure when it is revealed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when it is disseminated, when human disciplines have been developed, so it depends on the perception, how you receive it and how you interpret it. Then based on the variation of understanding, it may appear to be different, but inherently they are same. So this is one of the point I just, through my analysis, I just wanted to highlight here. Later, maybe at the end and Q&A session, we can discuss or we can come back to this point. So the next point is that the application of human intellect led to the advancement of human sciences and technology. However, the divine message, Wahi, now this is again Shukri, Dr. Mohammed Shukri, he is trying to elaborate the importance of human intellect and also at the same time the importance, the significance of Wahi. Through human reasoning, we are able to go through advancement in human sciences and technology. This is advancement in seen world, observational realm. But divine message, what is the role or what is the part of Wahi? This uplift the main mad knowledge with the ideal aim, moral values, and rules of human life. Rules of human life, ethical values is it instill, Wahi instill values to human action. Wahi instill or embed human values to human action, to human understanding. That's why it is mentioned earlier that according to Muhammad Shukri, revelation and reason are inseparable. Another important theme mentioned in this book is peaceful coexistence, which has been given very importance in the writings of Muhammad Shukri. Dr. Muhammad Shukri, uh, he has written in detail, and he has given a lot of importance to peaceful coexistence. He believed that unity in diversity is the foundation of peaceful coexistence in Islam. And the difference of race and color is to identify purpose rather than discrimination. So the discrimination is not the main idea, or this is not the main point, but different color, different races, it shows or reflect, demonstrate the different purpose, different role of different people. Historically, he proved that Islam endorsed the right to religious freedom as fundamental rights were granted to Jews and Christians in Medina. Based on this idea, he emphasized the positive interactions among Muslims and other communities in Sri Lanka. For over a millennium, through peaceful Arab trade dealings with the island. So he also highlight he also uh, he also highlight the history of Islam in Sri Lanka closely related to Arab commercial activity in India and Indian Ocean region. Sri Lanka was a major hub for East-West commerce. Arabs have been in contact with Sri Lanka even before the arrival of Christianity. He has used, because of the time constraint, we cannot discuss in detail, and I didn't mention these several points in my presentation. But in this book, he has discussed, the writers have discussed that the writers have analyzed his views, his ideas, how Shukri has proved the peaceful coexistence through historical evidences. Historical evidences, he has mentioned that how there's a long history over the millennium that Muslims have been living peacefully with Buddhists and Christians in Sri Lanka. And he has adopted scientific method to prove his claim. In his claim here, that as it is mentioned in the second point, that he has proved that Islam endorsed the right to religious freedom. He got this point from history, from Islamic history, and also in Sri Lanka. Within Sri Lanka, he also discussed in detail that what are the evidences, what are the archetypes found, what are the evidences found historically, still exist in Sri Lanka, still can be found and can be observed in Sri Lanka, which prove the harmonious existence among Muslims and other communities. Having a high caliber of scholarship, he did not hesitate to highlight that major problems and challenges, as we said earlier, that he was so much concerned. He has so much concern about Muslim youth, about Muslim, and he worked for Muslim youth actually. His main focus was Muslim community. So the challenges he mentioned in his writings, in his books and articles, in his paper, in his talks, the challenges of Muslim youth are confusion of thinking and ignorance. Confusion of thinking, staying away from Islamic heritage, one of the reasons, staying away from Islamic heritage, which resulted in ignorance and also which resulted in confusion of thinking. To overcome this issue, he suggested youth to involve in systematic research activity and beneficial reading habits. According to him, Islamic epistemology and ontology is the basic. For him, modern ontological assumptions, well, this is the basic of to know the truth, to know the reality, to know not only physical reality but metaphysical reality. For him, Islamic epistemology and ontology is the authentic source, is the basic medium to know physical and metaphysical truth. Unlike modern ontological assumption, because for him, modern ontological assumptions are problematic and need to be rectified through Islamic conception of reality and objective truths, as the Western paradigm only accepts the material causality, but Islamic paradigm accept physical and metaphysical reality as well. So Shukri's deconstruction of modernist ontological premises we can find in following three concepts or following three ideas. For him, if you want to deconstruct the paradigm or Western paradigm, we need to focus on these three premises. First is it is God-centered, as his presence is the essence of all knowledge. And the second, Shukri adopted Sufi preposition that they should play an important role in challenging Western philosophical premises. And the third one, he criticizes the approach to reinterpret the spiritual meaning of Islamic tradition through the lenses of modern scientific development. Again, because according to him, the modern method is completely based on physical paradigm, physical realities, and sense perception, and it does not accept metaphysical reality. It does not believe in revelation. It only based on reason, human reason, and human sense perception. That's why it has its own limitation. Through modern scientific development, we cannot interpret, we cannot know the reality, the spiritual meaning of Islamic tradition. In the development of Islamic sciences, Shukri adopted analytical and comparative methods to confirm the information and presented the collected data with a healthy critical approach. He also used the approach of relevantization. I have used this term relevantization, but the term was not used in the book. But in order to elaborate, to understand, just I have used this term, which means relating Islamic sciences or Islamic tradition to the contemporary issues. So in this way, he tried to make it understandable for audience, for non-Muslims and for Muslim, which have for those who have been influenced by a modern secular approach. So for them, there are ayat, there could be some ayat, there could be some ahadith, which are invalid, which has no any relevancy with today's contemporary issues. So in order to make it effective, in order to benefit from Islamic tradition, we need to find relevancy. This is the most important task, most important scholarly work, which has been done by Muhammad Shukri. This is the major contribution, one of the major contribution throughout his writing, throughout his work, his research work. We find that he tried to relate Islamic tradition, ulum al-Quran and ulum al-Hadith, or objective of Sharia, maqal Sharia, with today's contemporary issues, so that this would be the very effective way to introduce Islam in effective way, introduce Islam to the communities, to non-Muslim communities. The Quran, according to him, the Quran and Sunnah is an authentic source to understand the ideal of human life and to find the correct answers, which cannot be addressed by the reason alone. Again, there is a criticism. At the same time, the affirmation, the importance of Islamic tradition, which combine the role of reason and revelation, and also there is a constructive criticism by Shukri, which he criticized Western methodological approach, those who solely rely on the use of reason. For him, in Islam, there is no conflict between revelation and reason. It is a case in the West due to the Eurocentric view of history, because this conflict only found in West because the history the history, the conflict between the church, conflict between church and European thinkers, European scholars, European philosophers. Now they have developed this understanding that reason and revelation are contradicting each other. But it is not the case in Islamic paradigm. If we look at his constructive criticism of Western scholarship, he identifies the Western approach to the Quran is biggest problem. How the way they approach to the Quran. This is the major problem. They are unable to understand the truth of the Quran. For him, he said that they assume Quran as a human work. This is human man-made work, man-made book, not a divine book. They don't take a book, they don't take Quran as a divine book. So they are unable to understand the relationship between ayat and surahs. And he mentioned, as it is stated by the authors in this book, they are referring to Muhammad Shukri's writing, that Muhammad Shukri's referred to the Western scholar, Western thinker Rodwell, that he referred to the Quran as fragments of truth that are not related to each other. Fragment of truth that are not related to each other. They are unable to find the relationship between ayat and the surahs, chapters. Another second reason, the major reason they are unable to know the truth or to realize the truth is distance from Arabic language. And here is a huge lesson for not only for non-Muslim, but for Muslims as well. Those who are away or unaware of Arabic language. So for him, not knowing Arabic language is the major barrier, which prevent Western scholars or Western thinkers, and also their enmity and hatred towards Islam and Muslims also prevent them. Hence they are unable to understand the basic truths of oneness and the afterlife, the truth of afterlife, and the truth of God, which are the main theme of the Quran. These are the main theme, according to Shukri. The truth of oneness, unity of God, unity of life, unity of history, oneness, unity, as it is mentioned by Ismail Raji Farooq in his implication, Tawheed and its implication, the book. And the second theme, important theme of the Quran is afterlife. And the second important theme is the Quran itself is God-centered, as it is mentioned earlier for Shukri, that if we want to understand the Islamic philosophy, or we want to know, to deconstruct the Western approach, then we should rely on God-centered philosophy or paradigm. So these are the reasons they are unable to know the truth found in the Quran. One, first is I mentioned that how they approach the Quran, and the second, their alienation or estrangement from Arabic language. That's why they are unable to understand the Quran or know the truth. So now if you look at his philosophical thought, moving to concluding remarks, one of the writers of this book, in his chapter, he expressed his understanding of Shukri's philosophical discourse and his intellectual excellence, that for Shukri, Islamic philosophy is comprehensive and superior. It shows his in-depth understanding and his high-level scholarship, independent and high-caliber scholarship, that he is not under the influence of Western or modern secular thought or any other thought. Then he mentioned that, and very clearly he says that Islamic philosophy is comprehensive and superior, encompassing physical and metaphysical realms. His philosophical paradigm is based on, this is another very important point, that he approached mysticism or the tasawwuf very in unique manner and unique way. That a Sufi who is educationist and he is socialist and he is successful in all walks of his life, And at the same time, he's Sufi, and he should involve in all social activities, in mass movement activities. This is a very unique idea, that re-articulation of Islamic spiritual dimension, which is against modern Western philosophy, that is based on a narrow and reductionist onto epistemological scheme. Ontological epistemological scheme, or the paradigm of Western paradigm, is very reductionist, is exclusive, only address physical realm. On the contrary, Islamic philosophy is epistemologically and ontologically based on physical and metaphysical realm. That's why for Shukri, Islamic socio-religious mass movement, another idea here, although Shukri admired Islamic socio-religious mass movement, but because of his unique understanding of spiritualism or the tasawwuf, he stands alone. As asserted by the writer, he was neither a tailor-made Islamic reformist nor a conformist Sufi thinker. Rather, we can say that Shukri represented a new strand of Islamic intellectualism, which attempted to filter the smooth flow of modern ideas within the Muslim community of Sri Lanka. So these are the points which I try to extract from the book in briefly. His understanding on the tasawwuf, a unique understanding of the tasawwuf, his methodological approach, historical method, comparative method, analytical method, and especially when he tried to, in his writing, we find what we see, what we observe in this book. We learn from the book. This book is very comprehensive and very informative. That the methods adopted by Shukri, through these methods, he managed to prove his claims, especially when he referred to Islamic sources, primary sources. He used primary sources, and then he tried to make it relevant to the contemporary issues. These are the points we found in these books. Now we move to a few points related to evaluation of the book. In general, the book is well structured, having organized details, ideas on Shukri's life and his intellectual contribution, well written in simple language, a very easy to understand book. Students, those who are aware of English language, they can understand this book very well, inshallah. This is very simple language. This book covers almost every aspect of intellectual contribution of Muhammad Shukri and his life. Almost every aspect of intellectual contribution, because the book in detail. If you take the book, why I mentioned in the beginning that I'm really grateful to my teacher, because earlier I was a little bit confused that what would I see, what would I find in this book. But after reading the book, I found this is not like very like the simple book which is only talk about the contribution in terms of writings, not only in terms of writing, not only in terms of articles, research papers, and his ideas, but we learn the unique methods he adopted in his writings. The unique methods he adopted, he developed his approach through his intellectual development. He managed to adopt an approach that he sent a long-lasting impact on Muslim communities and non-Muslim communities as well. This is why this is the only why it is possible, because of his independent and his devotion, his commitment to Islamic tradition, and also having studied in and for having a background from college and universities background. So these integration of these two different paradigm, one is contemporary secular education, which he received in college and universities, but at the same time, sticking with Islamic tradition, he tried to develop this approach, which we can learn easily, which we can enhance ourselves, our understanding through reading this book. So that's why this book cover almost every aspect of intellectual contribution of Muhammad Shukri and his life. But we find variation of information based on the understanding and research of the writers for that, because I think it is natural, because the chapters written by different scholars focusing on Muhammad Shukri's life and his work and his contribution. So some information can be seen. The example I have mentioned here, for example, page 22, chapter 2 and page 34, chapter 3, delineate Shukri's thoughts on peaceful coexistence. So we find the content related to discussing peaceful coexistence in chapter 2 as well as chapter 3. But in chapter 3, discuss or deals in detail, as it is the requirement, it should be the requirement of the chapter. The ideas of Shukri on peaceful coexistence has been discussed in detail in chapter 3 as compared to in chapter 2. There are very small, maybe in say second, inshallah, in second revised edition, or maybe in second edition, we can go through these small typos. For example, page 40, there is a statement which should be the conflict. The statement should be the conflict between revelation and reason, but it says the conflict between revolution and reason. So they are the small typos of which I have referred in my evaluation or page 40. It referred to page number 40. Minor typos, for example, we use uppercase for when we refer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, him, his, right? So we use capital H, or we use with uppercase. So, but we find on different pages with lowercase, which is also very small, minor things which can be overcome, which can be revised and later on. The book have been also can be improved, could have been improved by adopting transliteration throughout the chapters. There are some chapters, most of the part of the book we find were written in, for example, especially Arabic terminologies we have been written in transliteration. But for example, for me, if I share with you my personal experience, especially those who are not from Arabic background. So the word qut, the PhD thesis dissertation of Dr. Shukri, qutul qulub, right? So qutul qulub is written on page 5, QUTH. For me, I'm not expert in Arabic language, so for me it was a little confusing that how to pronounce it. So if we transliterate, so it will be easy for reader that it is qutul qulub, because sometimes th also pronounced as sa, khus, right? So these are few observations, few comments on these things. It will help the reader to understand Arabic terminology easily. In conclusion, I would say this book provides a detailed analysis of a dynamic personality as a scholar par excellence, an author of several books, an administrator, an academician, a community leader, and a visionary who dedicated his life to the empowerment of Muslim minorities. After reading this book, a reader, this can be a true inspiration. It can be really, really true inspiration for a reader, that a person who has been blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who has this real true blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how a person, single person can work, can contribute at that high level, at the large level. So we, through our study, through our academic career, we learn. We used to hear, we used to learn our classical scholars, right? How they managed to write volumes and volumes of books. How they produce volumes manuscripts. But this is contemporary. One of the contemporary scholars passed away in 2020. 26 Ramadan 2020, May 2020. So how come? This is one of the contemporary examples for us, that how a person who is committed and he shows his devotion and sincerity to the cause of Allah, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then this person, a single person, can work immensely, can contribute can make huge contribution to the development of the society. So through the establishment of educational institution, one of his main concern, main focus, development through education, development through the establishment of institutions, social services, he left a profound impact on the Sri Lankan Muslim community in terms of self-reliance and resilience. The reader will not only know about the great contribution of Dr. Shukri, but she will be able to learn from the scholarship and innovative ideas and methods he adopted throughout his intellectual journey. This is a very important point, which I have, I managed to understand from the reading of the book. So this reading of the book will give you so many, so many ideas, so many innovative ideas. Reader will learn a lot from the book. This book can be a good source of knowledge for students, academicians, and others from different walks of life. This is what's from my side. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept what I try to say or what I try to discuss with you, share with you these ideas. And I'm very grateful to the organization, to the committee, and especially to Prof. M.A.M, who gave me this opportunity to present the overview of the book. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks, Dr. Junaid. It was an enlightening presentation. You almost covered the whole book very concisely, highlighting the key concepts, the key ideas from each and every chapter throughout the book. Just to recap or rewind, you started with the biography of Dr. Shukri, the key steps in his life, and his idea about the concept of knowledge, the differences between the Islamic philosophy of knowledge and the Western paradigm of knowledge. And you went into the philosophical discussions regarding the concepts. You highlighted his historical contributions or his contributions to the field of history, which related to Sri Lankan Muslim minority. As a minority, there was a need, and sometimes there is a need to document your history in order to survive in a minority setting. Apart from that, you gave detailed elaborations or your personal comments to develop the book in a more positive manner. Your evaluations were very precise. For example, you pointed out the pages, the number of pages, in which chapter and everything. I think this is a very clear and easy way so that the next edition could be improved more easily and more precisely. Thanks for all that. I think with that note, now let's open the floor for comments and discussions. Before I open, I kindly ask everyone to keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking, and please keep your comments concise so that everybody in the room would get a chance to speak or share their comments. With that note, yes, Prof. Tamim. Yes. Anybody else who is willing to comment or to bring about new ideas to the discussion? If you are unable to open your mic, you have a chance to use the chat room to we prefer to use the mic, but if you're unable, yes, you can type down your comments and points.
Brother Dr. Junaid, can you withdraw your screen? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah.
Alaikum
Assalam
assalam.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
My name is Nasser Nazaria from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Well, Islam, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much for this presentation. Indeed,
Sorry, brother, we can't hear you now.
Something is wrong.
Yes, I think he has a connection problem. Dr.
Yeah.
Nasir?
Okay, Brother Imas, can I say one or two words actually?
Yeah.
Not well, but anyway. First of all, let me express my deep sense of gratitude and thankfulness to Dr. Muhammad Junaid for accepting our invitation to review the book of a great man, Dr. Muhammad Shukri, a thinker and a scholar in Sri Lanka. Thank you very much, Brother Dr. Muhammad Junaid.
Yeah.
By the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I was able to meet this great man in Sri Lanka when he was in charge of Nalimia Institute of Islamic Studies. And he was young at that time. Of course, I was a student in Aligarh Muslim University. I was part of a delegation, and we went there and we met him, we discussed with him, and we learned a lot from him. Of course, at that point, I was not in a position to provide any of my intellectual input because I was a student of master degree program in Aligarh Muslim University. So we asked him about his vision for Sri Lanka and his roadmap, and he was able to explain to us. So going by that, of course, 4 or 5 decades passed, and now we are able to see Professor Shukri's output. Indeed, he was a great mastermind and acceptable, non-controversial, non-polemical scholar and thinker in Sri Lanka. Of course, he has produced many students and graduates, and some of his students are in the International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, continuing their PhD program. And of course, there are others in other parts of the Muslim world. So this is my brief remarks about this great man. Of course, we have also a member from the family of Dr. Shukri. If he or she can say a few words about this book and the book review, that will be greatly appreciated.
Thanks, Prof. Sami.
It seems that brother from Nigeria is still struggling. I could see on the screen.
Yeah.
So can we have some comments from others from Sri Lanka in particular? Because I can see many participants are from Sri Lanka as well.
Yes, we have got a comment through the chat room. This is from Abdul Rahman. I'm a graduate of Jamia and Alimia Islamia, and I have submitted my research. And my topic was the concept of education in the writings of Dr. Shukri. And he has given three main ideas, key findings from his research. Dr. Shukri advocates for the traditional Islamic educational methodology, the manhaj, as an alternative to the modern world. Number two, he criticizes the Western educational systems, arguing the modern education promotes westernization. Number three, Dr. Shukri emphasizes tasawwuf, Sufism, as a key aspect of Islamic epistemology. However, Dr. Shukri fully understood the concept of the integration or Islamization of knowledge late in his life. During this time, he acknowledged Dr. Naqib al-Attas as a key figure behind this concept. Thanks, Brother Abdul Rahman, for that comment. Yes, I see some of the authors of the book chapters too. You can contribute to the discussion too.
Especially, I would request our respectable Prof. Prof. Tamim. Now, or maybe later on, the point I mentioned in my presentation, the understanding of integration of knowledge as it is mentioned in the book. Is it correct understanding, or maybe I mistook?
I think you look at it from your way and he looked at from his way.
Right.
Both seem to be similar.
Right. Okay.
Can we hear from the contributors if there is anything new that you have in your mind to add, which you could not do it during your write-up?
Yeah.
And that will help the participants here.
Okay, let's wait for 2 minutes. And if there is no more comments, let's go to the concluding remarks and finish off the session.
Inshallah.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
I think there are some contributors, they were in the Zoom, but at the moment they are not, because I was one of the editor and I am the coordinator of this international seminar. It is my privilege and honor to do this job as a student of Dr. Shukri, and I have got fully supported by International Institute of International Institute for Muslim Unity. Almost it took 1 year for us to compile this chapter. I think Brother Dr. Arafat also here, but at the moment he's not in the room, and other contributors also. What Dr. Junaid is mentioned is here is truly valuable insights. We will consider for our next edition. We will do the needful. Jazakumullah khairan for your insightful book review in this afternoon. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you for the support of Director of IIMU, Professor Tamim Usama, and Thanks for the moderator, Imas Ilyas, Jazakumullah khairan, because at the moment I am with PG student outing at the Orang Asli Museum. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, brother Arkan.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Yes. I want to request this thing that we are discussing reviewing on books. So is it not better just giving my own suggestion that if you announced in the meeting 1 month before or few days before the meeting. In this way, the students can review also the book or read the book like this. Then it will be easy for students to comment on the topic or the book, because sometimes we are busy in some schedules and suddenly just we got the idea that the book review on this topic. So and then suddenly sometimes we cannot add new things or cannot read the book or add any new ideas in the discussion. The review of the book can be announced 15 or 10 days before the program.
Okay, we take note of your suggestion and try our best to inform our audience a couple of weeks before, inshallah. But generally, book review means a reviewer is requested to review and he provides his review. Based on the review, the participants will understand the significance of that book, and after that they go and read and then try to elaborate their understanding and comprehension. But if you are really interested to do pre-reading before the book review, it is really greatly appreciated. Inshallah, we will try to announce at least 2 weeks before the book review. Thank you very much for your concrete suggestion. Give us more suggestions of this kind so that our programs will be more effective and reaching out to the people from all parts of the world. And we are in the International Institute for Muslim Unity. We are here serving the Muslim Ummah. We are working for the unity of the Muslim Ummah. We are working for the excellence of the Muslim Ummah. And therefore, any suggestion that you have, you are most welcome. And you can also become a member of IIMU. We have a IIMU fellowship program. If you go to our website, you can register as a fellow, and then you can take part, you can suggest, you can also initiate activities of this kind with our collaboration, inshallah. So we really want all IIMU fellows to be proactive and dynamic so that the Ummah will benefit, and we in the Muslim Institute will facilitate all such programs, inshallah. So this is our response to our question or comment by our participant.
Yes, this is a great opportunity for the students to learn from their seniors. And Alhamdulillah, we learn a lot also. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sister. Okay, I think moderator, I think you should be moderating.
I think, yeah. Okay, I think we have come to the end of the session. As we have no other comments, let's go to the concluding remarks. So first and foremost, I want to extend my deepest gratitude to Dr. Muhammad Junaid for his valuable insights, giving his time, and all of the contributors and participants for making the discussion very insightful and giving suggestions and opinions to reflect upon Dr. Shukri, his legacy, his life, and further IIMU book reviews too. And a special thanks to Prof. Tamim to be present here, the director of IIMU, and helping us coordinating the event. With that, I'm just gonna say that Dr. Shukri's life was a testament to his knowledge, sincerity, and service, and he has left a legacy behind that continues to inspire us, that continue to guide us. So with that, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on Dr. Shukri, accept his contributions, and grant him the highest abode in Jannah.
I mean,
Further, as Dr. Tamim said, we also encourage all of us to be connected with IIMU for further programs, fellowship programs, discussions, book reviews, and many other programs to come up, so that you will have meaningful discussions and have meaningful contribution to the communities, as we are here on an international global scale. We are not from a specific country, rather from very different countries like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, and from Africa, Europe, and many other places. So I think this is a very good platform for us to contribute together, to have synergetic benefit and work together in future. With that, I sincerely apologize for any shortcomings that could have happened during the program, and appreciate your patience and participation. Finally, before we finish off, I request all of you all to turn on your cameras for a photo session. Can you please turn on the camera for a photo session?
Sister Aziza and Fatiha, please take beautiful photos.
Okay,
Done?
we are waiting for others to turn on the camera. Yeah,
Please open your cameras. Okay.
okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Any freestyle? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, nice.
Okay.
Jazakumullah khairan. Stay
Excellent.
connected with IIMU for further programs.
Excellent.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Okay. Looking forward to see you in our next program, inshallah.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, brother Dr. Junaid. Thank you all, my dear participants.